Good morning, boys and girls. I am so happy to be back with you on this Monday morning to do some second grade math. I am Miss Payne, and today we are going to move on and we are going to be talking about arrays. You may not know what an array is, but after today you will. I hope last week that you got to practice some of that addition and subtraction with regrouping, and I hope that you are ready to move on today to our new topic. All right, so our I can statements today. I can use addition to find the total of an array. I can write an equation that represents an array. So that is what we are going to learn to do today. All right, so you see I have my amazing arrays. So what is an array? An array can be used to represent numbers in a problem. Arrays have equal rows that go across, and they have equal columns that go up and down. And then I'm going to tell you a little secret because you're in second grade, but guess what? You are almost third graders. We're on our last week of online learning this week, and you guys are going to be third graders very soon. So I'm going to let you know that arrays can help us with repeated addition, but they can also help us with multiplication, which you guys are going to be learning when you get into the third grade. So that's exciting. All right, so let's look at our chart over here. I wrote a little chart to kind of help us with what an array is. So an array is an arrangement of objects that show equal groups in rows and columns. Well, sometimes we need to put things in ways to make it easier to count or to see how many they are. So I drew a little picture here to show you. So going down, these are our columns. When we go down, those are called columns. When we go across, we call these rows. So think about some things that you see in real life that are sorted into columns and rows. Can you think of some things? So some of the things that I think about are like eggs. When you buy eggs in a tray in a carton, those are in an array. Another thing is donuts. When you buy donuts, if you go to Krispy Kreme, which I think a lot of people have been doing lately because I've been hearing about that line at Krispy Kreme, they put your donuts in the box and they're in an array. So there's lots of different things in life that we see in an array. When people have to set up chairs for people to sit in, a lot of times they do those in an array. So we see those a lot. You may not have known what it was called, but now you do. So when we talk about an array, we can use an equation to show the total amount of objects. So right here you can see that I drew some circles and I have them in columns and rows. So I ask myself, how many rows do I have? Well, we count 1, 2, 3. I have 3 rows. The next thing that I need to know is how many are in each row. Well, I can count how many are in each row. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 3 rows of 4. And if I wanted to write that as an addition sentence, I could write 4 plus 4 plus 4. See, I wrote 4 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 12. Now remember I told you that we can also use arrays for multiplication too, but that's not something that we're really going to talk about right now. We're going to talk about it a little bit, but you guys aren't responsible for knowing that in second grade. But when you get to third grade, you will use arrays to do multiplication. So you may have seen something like this maybe on your iReady test. We could also write a multiplication equation for this array. So we could say 3 times 4. Oh, you might have seen that X right there, that little time sign on your iReady test. I had a second grader say, I saw an X on my iReady test and I didn't know what it meant. Well, that is multiplying. So arrays can help us with repeated addition and it can also help us with multiplication. So today we are going to talk about both of those just a little bit. All right, so we are going to read a story today called Matthew's Sunshine Bakery. Now, it is also a story by Kathleen Stone. Do you remember who she was? That's right, she wrote the story that we read about Sheriff Jacob that helped us with expanded form. And if you remember, I told you, Miss Stone is a second grade teacher and she writes all of these books to help her students learn. So I think it's cool that we can read those books together. All right, so Matthew's Sunshine Bakery, here we go. Matthew the chef loves to bake cookies, candies, pies, and cakes. So there's Matthew. He's baking all of his cookies, candies, pies, and cakes. Have you ever baked a cake? Oh, yeah. It's fun to bake, right? Yeah, it makes a mess though. See all of those ingredients he has to have? All right, he meticulously places each treat on a tray, organizing each one into a tasty array. Oh, so look what he did. Look at his trays. He organized all of his candies, cakes, and pies into columns and rows. Take a look at these cookies Matthew baked for afternoon tea. How would you describe this array? That's right, it's 3 rows of 3. So look at his array. He put his cookies in 3 rows of 3. I see 1, 2, 3 going across and 1, 2, 3 going down. So he has 3 rows of 3. Now, we could say 3 plus 3 plus 3. That's a repeated addition sentence, but we can save ourselves some time. Looking at this array, let's say 3 times 3 is 9. So that's where I was talking about that you can do repeated addition or multiplication, but today we're going to focus on that repeated addition. Here's another tray of treats. Are you ready to give it a try? All right, so look at his tray of treats there. 3 rows of 3. So what would it be? 3 rows of 3 would be 9. He has 9 cookies. 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. There are 4 rows of 5 candies arranged on Matthew's tray. So what's the addition equation you would say for this array? So if we look at his tray, we can see that he has 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there are 5 in each row. So what could we do? What could we do to answer that problem? Did you say 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 20? If you did, you were right. You are a great mathematician, a quick thinker, and very bright. So he arranged his cookies into 4 rows of 5. And you can see he has 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And then there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in each row. So all of his columns and rows are filled up, and he has cookies in each one. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 20. What equation describes this scrumptious treat? 5 times 3 is 15. They look yummy and oh so sweet. I bet you like cupcakes. I know I do. All right, so look at this array. What would we do to write an addition sentence for this array? So I see, let's count our rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 5 rows. And how many are in each row? Yes, there are 3 in each row. I see 3 in each row. So we have, what would we do to write a repeated addition sentence for this one? All right, we would say 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 15. And then we know that we have how many cupcakes all together? We have 15 cupcakes. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 15. That's that repeated addition equation. Today, Matthew is baking strawberry tarts for his cousin DJ. There are 4 rows of 2 tarts arranged neatly on his tray. What would be the equation? Did you say 4 times 2 is 8? That's the correct equation. Good for you. You are doing really great. So they're using that multiplication equation. They said 4 times 2 is 8. But if we wanted to write that as an addition equation, a repeated addition equation, what would we do? So I see up here where it tells you there are 4 rows of 2. So how many 2's would we have to add? How many of those 2's would we need? Well, if there's 4 rows of 2, we would have to add 2 4 times. So we would say 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 8. So we see our 8 candies or pies. I think he said these are tarts on our tray. So 4 rows of 2. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 8. So that is a nice array to be able to count quickly to see if we have enough of something. Matthew's almost done baking, but here's one more problem for us to try. What equation would you say for this tray of pistachio pie? Have you ever had pistachio pie? I don't know if I would like that or not. I've had pistachio pudding, but I don't know about pie. All right, so let's look at that array. Let's see, how many rows do we see? Now, if we remember on our chart, the rows go this way. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. I see 4 rows. And how many are in each row? That's right, there are 4 in each row. So what equation do you think we would need to write to be able to figure out how many we had all together? If you have a piece of paper, why don't you write it really quick? All right, so let's see. There are 4 rows of 4 pies. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 delicious pistachio pies, all covered with sweet whipped cream. And we see up here that he said 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 16. There's our repeated addition sentence for our beautiful array of pistachio pies. Matthew's yummy day of baking has finally come to an end. Maybe you can practice even more arrays with a friend. All right, so we are going to keep up talking about our arrays today, and we're going to practice making some arrays. So if you don't have a piece of paper and a crayon or a pencil or something, why don't you get that really quickly? All right, so we are going to look at some things that we see in real life that are in arrays. So right now, let's look at this first picture. What is this a picture of? Yes, it's some eggs. Now, we know that eggs are sold in different amounts. So sometimes you can buy 6 eggs, sometimes you can buy 12 eggs, and sometimes you can buy a carton of 18 eggs. And they are all sold the same way in an array. So this carton of eggs shows 6 eggs. How many rows do you see? I see 3 rows. And how many is in each row? There are 2 eggs in each row. So what do you think our addition equation would be for this array? If you said 2 plus 2 plus 2, then you are exactly right. Well, what is the total amount of eggs? 6. That's right. 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. And we can see that we have 6 eggs. All right, here's another picture for you. Oh, remember those donuts I was talking about? They look so good, don't they? But who wants to wait in that long line? All right, I see an array of beautiful, delicious donuts. What do you think would be the repeated addition sentence for this array? Well, how many rows do you see? Let's think of that first. How many rows? Okay, and then how many do you see in each row? All right, good. So what do you think would be the addition sentence for this box of donuts? So if you said that you saw 3 rows and that there were 4 in each row, then you are exactly right. So what would we do? How would we write that as a repeated addition equation? 4 plus 4 plus 4, because we want to write 4 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And so how many total do we have? 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals what? 12. That is right. 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 12. So you have 12 donuts. Do you know what they call 12? Who knows what that word is when we have 12 of something? What do we call that? We call that a dozen. When we have 12 of something, we call it a dozen. Have you ever heard your mom say, "Oh, I need to get a dozen eggs"? That's right. We call it a dozen. All right, here's another picture for you. Oh, these are Legos. I know some of you probably like to build with Legos. How many Legos do you see in this array? How many rows are there? And how many are in each row? All right, good. Write your repeated addition sentence. All right, if you said there were 3 rows and that there were 3 in each row, then you are exactly right. We have 3 plus 3 plus 3, which is how many altogether? That's right, it is 9. So we would say 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. Remember, we have 3 rows, so we have to add that 3 3 times. 3 plus 3 plus 3. All right, I think we have one more. Who has ever seen something that looked like this? This is for making cupcakes or muffins. I'm sure that you have seen your mom or your dad or your grandma maybe make some cupcakes or some muffins for you. Those are done in arrays. Now this one is a smaller cupcake pan. Most of the time you see a cupcake pan have how many, do you think? A lot of times it'll have 12 cupcakes, but this one is a little bit smaller. How many rows do you see? That's right, you see 2 rows. And how many are in each row? There are 3 in each row. So how many cupcakes could you make with this cupcake pan? Well, you could make 6 cupcakes, 3 plus 3. We have 2 rows of 3. So we have 3, 2 times, 3 plus 3, and that would equal 6. All right, good job. And then our last real life picture today. So this is what we're used to seeing when we buy eggs most of the time. I see my eggs here in an array. This is how I buy my eggs. How many rows do you have? That's right, you have 2 rows. But how many are in each row? Well, we could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 in each row. So if I wanted to write a repeated addition sentence for this, I could write 6 plus 6. And that would equal how many? That's right, it equals 12, a dozen eggs, 12 eggs. Now, let's think about something else. So if you were to look at this a different way, so say that you looked at this and you saw 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. Which you could do, you could say 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. I think I said it 6 times. Let's write it. So we could write it like this. We could say 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. All right, let's see if I wrote 6 2s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, if I can count by 2s, I know that I could say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And would that be the same thing? It is the same thing. So really, it doesn't matter which way you write it because you're going to get the right answer because 6 plus 6 is the same thing as 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. They both equal 12. So we may see that a different way. So even if you wrote it a different way, you would still get the same answer. All right, so let's look at a problem together. Rob's team has shelves for their hats. How many hats are there in all? Well, he's got their hats are on a shelf, so what is the problem about? They want to know how many hats are there in all. It says, what are you trying to find out and what information is important? Well, the information that's important is to know how many shelves there are and how many hats are on each shelf. So how many shelves do you see in the picture? How many shelves do you see in the picture? Yes, that's right. I see 3 shelves, 3 shelves. And how many hats are on each shelf? 4, that's right. There are 4 hats on each shelf. So I see basically 3 rows of 4. 3 rows of 4. So I might say that like this, 3 rows of 4. And if I wanted to write a repeated addition sentence to be able to solve this problem, how could I write that? I could say 4 plus 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4 plus 4. And what would be the total? Yes, there are 12 hats. That repeated addition helps me get my answer a little quicker. I can say 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 12 because I saw 3 rows of 4 hats. So that would be my repeated addition sentence for that problem. So it says, explain how you can find the number of hats in all. Well, what did we do? We looked at how many shelves there were and how many hats were on each shelf, and then we were able to add those all together instead of having to count each hat. All right. Can you use an array to answer this question? There are 5 astronauts in the spaceship. They each had 4 books. How many books were on board the spaceship altogether? So think about that for a second. There are 5 astronauts in a spaceship. They each had 4 books. I'm sorry, let me say that again. There are 5 astronauts in the spaceship. They each had 4 books. How many books were on board the spaceship altogether? All right, really quickly, I want you to just use dots or circles or something and write out your array before I show you the picture. Let's see if you can get this array. Okay, give you another second. See if you can write those circles out really quickly. All right, so look at our array. So we see 5 astronauts on the spaceship. They each had 4 books. So how many books were on board the spaceship altogether? So we look and we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we see 1, 2, 3, 4. We see 4 rows of 5, 4 rows of 5. And it says it doesn't matter which way around you make the array, the answer would be the same, which is what we just talked about over here. So if we have this problem and we have 4 rows of 5, let's think about what our repeated addition sentence would be. So it would be 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. And if we know how to count by 5s, we could count by 5s and we could say 5, 10, 15, 20. So we know that 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 20. All right, so that repeated addition and using arrays helps us tremendously when we're putting things in rows and columns and we're trying to make even amounts for everybody and trying to do things like that. It will help you. And it also will help you with multiplication. So even though you're still in 2nd grade, you're so close to being a 3rd grader, and you know 3rd graders use multiplication. So when you know how to do arrays, that's going to help you so much when you start multiplication in the 3rd grade. All right, you guys did a fantastic job today on our repeated addition arrays. I think after this lesson, you should be able to maybe make some arrays yourself. You can use anything at home that you have. You could use Legos, or you can use, if you have any small toys, you can use pennies. You can use anything like that to practice arrays. And if you have some dice, you can roll your dice and you can use one number to tell you how many rows and the other number to tell you how many is in each row, and you can build an array like that. So I would make an array with 3 rows and 4 in each row. So if you have dice at home and you want to play that game, you should do that to try some arrays. It'll give you some good practice, okay? All right, guys, you did a good job today, and I will see you on Thursday where we will talk about some shapes, okay? All right, see you then. Bye.